Did you hear that we might be going to war?
You or me?
Me, not
Or we're
you.
both going together?
Me. I'm an American. I'm an American. You're not an
All
American.
right. What do you got for me? War with who? War on drugs?
No, we're going to war with Russia.
Oh,
We're gonna defend our homeland. Because the
hit me
Russians are
up.
coming
What
for
you
it.
got?
You haven't heard about this?
No, I don't. Not yet.
Well,
You're the guy who always fills us in on
okay,
war
well,
news. So.
I'll fill you on this update about the war, okay? Well, apparently, a local Russian advertisement is sparking some outrage because it basically advertises a message of reconquest of Alaska in Russia. Because some people might not know this, but the Russians actually sold Alaska to America back in the 1900s. And so some Russian nationalists, a minority, but a notable minority, is
Wait, pause.
yeah,
Before you continue, Alaska used to be Russia's?
yeah, it used to be Russia's.
So you're saying Canada used to be on the border of Russia?
Absolutely, yes. And
So that,
you better, yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
thank you, bro. Thank you.
You're
Thank you for
welcome.
getting me a buffer state. Fucking hell.
You're welcome. Alaska is ours. A local Russian advertisement put up by far right Russian nationalists is basically advertising a reconquest of Alaska. They want to come back for their polar bears. They want to take it back. There's some, there's some ethnic Russian speaking populations in Alaska. They need to go in there, need to save them.
Sarah Palin shit?
Sarah Palin, yeah, a well-known Russian speaker, Sarah Palin. Want to go in and
I
say,
mean, she can't speak English very well, so I just assumed Russian was her first language.
a billboard reading "Alaska is ours" spotted in the Siberian city of Krasnin Crosstown has
Krasnoyarsk.
Krasnoyarsk
Krasnoyarsk.
has caused outrage on social media. Online users claim that the message was another threat of invasion by the Russian government and the war in Ukraine. Amid the war in Ukraine, Euronews has fact-checked these claims. The image of the banner was first shared on the popular messaging platform Telegram. The man who first posted the photo claims he's seen many billboards like these around the city in Siberia.
Jeez.
There's no information on the government website or channels about these banners, which suggests that it wasn't posted about by the government. It was posted by Russian nationalists. The city administration told the media that this advertisement was a private initiative and has nothing to do with official government policy. One of the clues as to who is behind these billboards is the image of mountains featured next to the map of Russia. The same exact picture can be traced to the logo of a company called Alaska, which sells trailers in Krasnoyarsk. Russian media have reported that these banners are actually advertisement that the company has paid for and produced. Euronews has contacted the company for a statement, but has yet to receive a response. But they told Russian media that its director is very patriotic. Thus, we decided to show that we are for patriotism and for import substitution. I'm sorry. Let's be for real. They knew what they were doing with this. They know the history of the conflict. They know the history of American and Russian relations is not very well right now. They know that we're kind of, we're sucking lemons at the moment, both of us. We don't like each other at the moment. And they know that if they were to post something like this, that it would get attention. And this is an effort at outrage marketing. That's what I think it is. I think they're not going to try to shift it up like, no, when we made that billboard that said Alaska is ours and showed a map of Russia extending into Alaska, what we meant was import substitution. Fuck off, you coward. Now that everybody else
ours is pretty it's pretty unambiguous.
It's pretty unambiguous. I think it's pretty clear what they meant is that they want Russia to take it back because they don't like America. We don't like America, and so this is how we're showing we don't like America. Is by saying we're gonna conquer Alaska. And so if anybody was wondering because they saw something like this in the news, well, is Russia going to take back Alaska? No, Russia's not going to invade Alaska. America is a nuclear power. America has a substantial military. If Russia can't even take Ukraine, how are they going to take Alaska, which is held by the most powerful country on the planet? If the Russian Air Force can't get air superiority over Ukraine, which is right next to them, how are they going to do it in Alaska? And at the same time, too, while America's in NATO, it just, nah, man.
Maybe they think that they're gonna convince the Alaskans to join them
Maybe
peacefully.
they're gonna start a pro-Russian Alaskan rebellion.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like the pro-Russia people that lived in the eastern Ukraine,
Yeah, how they,
right?
how 80% of their forces were made up by the Russian military, and they were bolters by the Russian military. It'll be like a peaceful rebellion. How Russian soldiers will move in, they'll just appear everywhere, and they'll all just be like, "Yes, I am Alaskan. Yes, very Alaskan." It'll be perfect.
Well, well,
I do
maybe
you
that'll be maybe that's their next plan after Ukraine.
Do you think this is basically just Russian virtue signaling then? Do you think this is just their version of like, hey, we hate America, isn't that right? All of my loyal
Or
subscribers and fans so much that I want to take back Alaska. Like they're just escalating in rhetoric at such a rate when it comes to the use of nuclear weapons, when it comes to war crimes, when it comes to fighting the West and NATO, that like this is the inevitable conclusion that you're just gonna have a bunch of wackadoodles that are gonna be saying stuff like this. I mean,
I
this
think
isn't
it's
that
like
too far off from what Russian state media says on the regular.
well, I was gonna say I think it's like gonna help with morale a little bit, right? Like if you tell like, look, we're doing so well, like next is Alaska, like don't fear not, like we're crushing it out here. Like
Yeah,
I feel like that's like for people reading it, that's the kind of message that they're trying to send, right?
yeah. I think maybe. I think it's mostly just like an anti-America message. Just like, hey, remember,
Yeah, to get morale in Russia up,
Yeah,
right?
I
Like
think it's partially that. I mean, that is how maybe it could be read. I think it's just outrage marketing. But that's one way it could be read as, look, we're trying to get morale up. I think it's a combination of
mhm.
outrage marketing and the director of this company probably being a complete psychopath.
Interesting. Well,
Could
keep an
you
eye out and see if
could you imagine if the Russians actually tried something like that? They can't even take
that'd be
Ukraine,
fucked
and
up.
right
They
now they
wouldn't. No,
decide.
they can't, bro. They listen. I didn't even think they would actually go into Ukraine because I just can't fathom that. Like in this day and age, where with all these economies so interlocked and connected to each other, that you would risk like getting the entire world against you for land. Like I don't know. It seems to me like land is secondary to like strategic partnerships, but I guess not.
I don't think they thought it would be this troublesome. I
Yeah,
think
fair.
it's true from how you saw how unprepared they were. They thought the whole country would collapse like in 3 days. They thought that in 3 days you'd be able to take the whole country. It's now day 142, so we're a little off schedule, slightly, and they've lost a lot more soldiers than they thought they were. They've lost a lot more equipment that they thought they were going to lose. They haven't taken over the whole country. The Kiev offensive was a massive failure. They've finished taking Luhansk, but they haven't taken Donetsk. They still have to take locations like Kramatorsk if they want to take that. And I think when you look at their main war goals, I think they've all backfired. I've been wanting to do a video about this for a long time. I'm actually working on an article about it. Um, if you look at the original Russian war goals, they've met none of them in over 142 days. Let's go
I
through the.
remember Haas famously said that they would have Kiev in like 5 seconds or
They said
something.
he
Didn't
was
he?
like we were debating him, and I remember Destiny said, and this was like a month into the war, if Russia doesn't take Kiev in 2 weeks, is something wrong? He's like, absolutely, something's wrong, but that won't be an issue. Like he completely like sniffed his own farts on this. I mean, a lot of people did. A lot of the open source intel guys who are more anti-Western, like completely sniffed their own farts about the glory of the Russian military, and they believed what these Russian military contractors and Russian military weapon salespeople have been saying. I mean, this is how a lot of this would work: is there would be these people whose job it is to sell weapons to the Russians, right? That's their job, and they would sell these hypersonic missiles, or they would sell these weapons, and they would sell them as if they're the best weapons in the world, and they're going to change warfare forever, and there's nothing you can do about it. But that's their job. They're salesmen. That's
Mhm.
their job, is to sell weapons. But people would just take these PDFs of their statements about how cool their weapons are, take them at face value, or take PDFs from the Russian military or Russian military institutions at face value and not dig any deeper. And so when these weapons, like the hypersonic missile, don't change the course of warfare forever, and they haven't really shifted the balance of power in Ukraine whatsoever, and the Russian military isn't like this huge powerhouse that people exactly thought it was in comparison. Like, it's still powerful, but it's not as nearly as strong as people thought. they got sold a false bill of goods. It's like there's a military industrial complex in America which sells weapons and will sell you a false bill of goods as well. Not to the same extent, but there is when it comes to the selling of false bills of goods. But that same thing exists in all countries, basically. And Russia is a prime example of that.
It's like alt crypto coins. That's true.
Yeah, the hypersonic missile is like Dogecoin. Exactly. But
yo, let me ask you, do you have any predictions for what's going to happen?
I can't predict what's gonna happen. There was supposed to be like a huge announcement today because there was like a private like state, like the Russian government called back members of the Duma for like an emergency meeting, and so I'm trying to figure out what that's gonna result in. But I do believe at the end of the day that Ukraine's is eventually gonna be liberated. I think.
So what? Russia will just take the L and back out, and
I don't know. I don't know exactly how it's gonna fall out, but I do believe that in my hearts of hearts. I just think the geopolitical forces involved, like Russia just made too many blunders and they're kind of screwed. But I think like
interesting.
I think even if Ukraine like loses territory, right, which I think is the worst case scenario at this point, is they lose like the Donbass or they have
maybe
territory occupied. I think that Russia isn't going to meet any of its original war goals. Because if you look at Russia's original war goals, you can list them out.
But they said they wanted to get rid of Nazis.
Yeah, it's working really well. Using the Wagner group,
dude,
headed by a neo-Nazi to denazify.
Every time a building gets bombed, they just say there was a Nazi congregation in there. That's their thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's like they're like cops planting evidence. You know what I mean? Like, he had a gun, and they just throw a pistol on the dead body.
Thought he was gonna shoot me.
I could have sworn he was gonna shoot me. I could have sworn. Dude, that was a child. So I was gonna shoot me. I swear to God, he was gonna shoot me. That orphanage, that hospital was gonna shoot me any second now. But the Russians have always been blatant. A good example of this is way back in the day in Syria. Not even way back in the day. This is a few years ago. They bombed a hospital and then shared footage of them bombing a hospital full of civilians on social media to show how effective their missiles were to the Armenians who doubted their missiles strength and capacity after they weren't as great in their war with Azerbaijan, and he wanted to point the finger at somebody. But when it comes to the original war goals, demilitarization, Ukraine's more militarized than it's ever been. It's got HIMARS, for God's sake.
True.
It's getting weapons from everybody. They're getting help from everybody. Okay, so that doesn't work. Denazification. I think it's mostly
someone in chat says the children with cancer are Nazi bitches.
They're all skinheads. Why do you think they don't have? Why do you think they don't have?
Oh my God! Hair? It's got nothing to do with the radiation.
Nothing to do with the radiation. Then there's the issue of denazification. Now, of course, it's just a propaganda piece, but I think a lot of people could also read this as like changing the government in Ukraine, right? Regime change. Definitely, since they were moving the cogs in place to do that. That isn't going to happen. That didn't work. Yanukovych had to fly in and then fly out of Belarus when it didn't go exactly how he wanted. Then there's, of course, this idea of stopping NATO expansion. Well, since the invasion of Ukraine, it has caused 2 more nations to join NATO, both Sweden and Finland, which the idea was we do not want NATO on Russia's border. Finland shows an over 1,000-mile border with the Russian Federation. So that's not great for them. They're going to have to move a lot of strategic positioning to deal with this increased NATO presence along their border. It's just like all of their original war goals. This idea we're going to protect the Russian speakers. More Russian speakers have died in this war than any other group of people because of the Russian bombardment. I mean, there's just a million
more
things
than Ukrainian.
Oh,
you mean there were Russian-speaking people that lived in Ukraine?
Russian-speaking people that lived in Ukraine.
Oh,
there's a lot of Russian-speaking people that live in Ukraine. But they're the one that are dying in the largest numbers. Mariupol has a large Russian-speaking population. Kharkiv has a large Russian-speaking population. All of the Donbass has a generally decently sized Russian-speaking population.
That's why they were
every single interview that I've had with a refugee or displaced person, they're all Russian speakers.
Interesting.
But the Russian speakers who I'll ask them, well, what do you think of Putin? I hope he hangs himself. It's like they don't like the guy. And that's not all Russian speakers.
They're not living there, right?
But they're the ones that are getting they feel backstabbed by Putin in a way. Because they feel like Russia was supposed to be the brother country, and now they're the reason they had to flee their home, and now their house is gone. So they certainly haven't succeeded in protecting the Russian speaking population in Ukraine. And even if you wanted to
Hmm.
broadcast it as well, they didn't actually mean protect them. They meant they wanted to annex territory. The Donbass still hasn't been completely captured. Zaporozhye hasn't been captured. Odessa
They're
hasn't
still
been
fighting
captured.
on all fronts. Yeah.
It's, I mean, like, for me,
Right.
like, if you look at Russia's original war goals, they failed on every front. They haven't achieved any of them whatsoever.